encouragement, and I know where to get it. Let's rise. How do? Yeah, I got to get that out. Think about the tough times you've been through in the past. And at that moment, you didn't think you was going to make it, and you made it. All right, now you know what?
We don't need my answer. Okay, Lessette.
No, I want your answer. Go on, say your answer, please.
See, you know what?
I'm trying to cut you out. I ain't trying to cut you out.
Oh, yeah.
So you know what we did to him? We went to doggy daycare. Yes. We took him to doggy daycare, so maybe they can teach him some manners that maybe we can't teach him. And just remember that, you know what? You are directing your life within yourself. So whatever you want your life to be, whatever you do today is going to decide your future for tomorrow. So make sure you direct it carefully, all right? Come on, rise. Let's go higher, higher, higher. When you enjoy something that you really enjoy, that you enjoy what you really enjoy, but you enjoy what you really do.
What did you just say? That messed me up.
Messed me up too.
I was waiting for the hair to go all over the place when you said that, but I think you got through it.
But
no, she did it anyway.
How do? You know, I really wanted to hold it and do it a lot more harder, but I try to have mercy on all you pilgrims out there this morning. How y'all's doing?
You know, I'm never gonna get over watching this intro and you say the thing at the end, and I was literally sitting here when we did that live. You enjoy what you enjoy, and I was like, "What in the world is she talking about?"
Sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about either. Don't you tell it though. Hi everybody, and welcome to Rise with Lessette. Now I started to say my perspective for one moment. I had to catch myself. It was right on my tongue.
It's because Mark is here today, and you guys co-hosted My Perspective for what, 2 years? So now that you see him, it's bringing up your memories of being on the set. Remember, we used to do it in person.
I know.
My favorite one was when you guys did the Halloween costumes.
Yes, I had to terrorize Mark. Now just
we'll talk about that when he gets up here, because then we'll get his point of view from the terrorization that you did.
I'm telling you, it's you know what? It's good to be here this morning, y'all. You know what? It's the sun is shining, you know, in the Carolinas here. I mean, it's shining and everything. And I'm telling you, I feel great. I feel good this morning, and I hope you guys are feeling good too. We're going to have a wonderful show here today. We have Mark Jones, and we're going to be having a conversation about criminology and his show Crime Chronicles. I'm telling you, I love his show, you know, because I love crime. But you know, I can't say I love. See what I'm saying?
What? No, I clipped it. I clipped it. Lessette says she loves crime. She's going to be the next president of the United States.
I messed it all up, you know. I don't love crime.
It's funny that you said that, Lessette. So this weekend I had to work. I was supposed to go to the No Kings protest, but I had to work. And then I remembered last night we're having Mark on today talking about criminology, and I don't want to talk about politics when he gets on here, so we'll get it out of the way.
Okay.
I was looking at our president's made $1 billion in untraceable crypto since he's been in office this term, while people are being not paid. And he has pardoned over 40 criminals, and 30 of those criminals have been political criminals that were put in jail for campaign fraud, wire fraud, stolen identity theft, and all of these things. And I'm like, what is, and no one's paying attention to it because we're all being distracted as these things are happening. So I was like, yeah, today's a good day to do criminology.
Yeah, it is a great day. The criminals got it going on now.
I need to I what I need to do is because I got some bills to pay. I need to get a red hat and I need to go rob a bank and then just have a bunch of people tweet how much I love the president and hope I can get pardoned and keep
Hey,
that money.
do some crime nowadays, you're probably gonna get pardoned.
No,
It's
I get
crazy.
screwed. That's how my luck works. How was your weekend though?
I had a great weekend. I had to minister at a I had to sing at a funeral, and so it
Mhm.
was kind of
Oh,
interesting because I had learned this song. There was a dear sister that had passed,
mhm,
and she knew she was passing, so she wanted me to sing this song,
mhm.
and I rehearsed it and rehearsed it, and it was a difficult song. And the day before, the funeral, they gave me the wrong song.
Oh
I had
no.
to relearn the new song overnight,
Oh my god.
but it was cool.
Things a professional will do, right?
I said, I got that little inkling inside my heart. The Lord said, "Do it your way." So I did it my way. It worked out, and it was
I
so
don't
good.
want you to sing at my funeral.
Oh, you don't?
No, I've heard you sing. It's beautiful and you'd probably wake me up. You
Cool.
have a voice that could wake the dead.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
don't want no parts of that. When I'm gone, I'm
Oh,
gone.
no, I wouldn't want to see you go. Oh, wow. But
Uh,
you know what? It's just good to be here, y'all. Don't forget to please share and
mhm.
call Nay Nay, Baby, Ray Ray, and Sally and Jessica. Call them people. Say, get your butt on up here and watch the show this morning. All right. And if you can't see it now, tell them they can watch the replay. Don't
They
forget
can
to
watch
subscribe.
the
All right.
replay.
All right.
And Mark that's coming on in a second here. This is great because I love watching crime shows, whether it's fake or real. Like, of course, my two favorite crime shows, one's real and one's fake. Law and
Hmm.
Order Special Victims Unit,
Oh yeah.
my favorite Law and Order. But it's a trap show because they play it back to back to back for like 20 episodes. And
Uh huh.
if you don't leave when the next episode starts, you're stuck for
You're
infinite
trapped. There you go.
hour. And then my, of course, uh, nonfiction show is Forensic Files.
Okay.
Files, made me learn a lot about Forensic Files. Also made me learn there's a lot of people
Hmm.
fail from eyewitness testimony and not, real evidence.
Ain't that something? I like scary people.
I saw him, uh, which is crazy, but you go with what you had back then. But without further ado, let's bring on our wonderful, amazing guests. We're gonna bring on uh,
Mark.
Mark Jones. I almost said Professor Mark Jones, but he's retired now. Yay!
Hey, Mark, come get a piece of this.
Is it my
Whoa,
turn?
Lessette.
Not a piece of that, but a piece of. Never mind. Never mind.
She saw you in that leopard print. Now she's all hot and bothered. What's going on?
Well, whatever works, right? Actually, my title now is emeritus professor. It's a fancy word for retired. So
Okay.
I
Emeritus
still have some
professor.
kind of loose connection to the business, but I don't have to work anymore.
Were you what they called tenured before retirement? Did you achieve that tenure?
Yeah, yeah. A long time ago. Yeah. You
Awesome.
usually you come up for tenure, say in your sixth year.
Mhm.
So that was a long time
Oh,
ago for me.
that's
Hmm.
not long. I thought it was like a very, very long time before you could be tenured at a
No,
university.
usually it's
Oh,
something like this. In my case, was pretty typical.
mhm.
You start out at the rank of assistant professor, and then if you cut the mustard after say 6 years, during your sixth year, you come up, and if you're promoted and tenured, you typically get promoted to associate professor, and then after a while, if you continue to do pretty well, they'll promote you to full professor or just professor. So that was me. My
Okay.
last 15 some odd years, I was a full professor, and
Okay.
then when you retire, some people get the rank of emeritus, but that and $10 to get you a coffee at Starbucks, but that's really about it.
So, Mark, go ahead and give us. We used to like read bios back when we started this, but that's kind of boring. I like the people to kind of give us their background and tell us a little bit about themselves. We know you're a professor, but you also I always get it wrong because I always say parole officer, and you're like no, and correct me. So go ahead and give us your background there.
Well, the word you're looking for is probation officer. I'll get to that in a minute. But when I was growing up, I was probably a fan of crime, but not to any more a greater extent than most people. Say like Lessette was talking about a while ago, and you too. Um, and it's a funny thing that people always feel kind of ashamed when they say they love talking about crime. Yet all of us slow down to look at a wreck and don't stop to help. So I don't know. It's just human nature, I suppose.
That's good.
Um, and as an undergraduate, I did not study criminal justice. I studied something else because I had not grown up yet. And then my first job out of undergraduate at the University of Georgia was as a recreation supervisor at a prison in Georgia. And that led me to a job as a probation officer for the
But let
state
me
for
ask you this. Look,
yeah,
please let me. Did that scare you? Being out there
prison work.
with the inmates like that?
No, no. Um, the facility I worked at was, I'd say, medium security.
Okay.
And there were some pretty bad people in there. There were people in there for all sorts of bad crimes, but day in, day out, no. There's some moments, but um, the biggest downside to the job I had was just boredom. It was the most boring job I ever had. Uh,
Wow.
it was nothing. It's really nothing to do with your basic mission. It's to sit around and watch people and make sure they don't go anywhere. That kind of lends, and that's not a knock on the corrections field. You need good people in that field. I understand that. But I worked as a probation officer for about 6 years, an adult probation officer. This is all in Georgia. I got my master's while I was doing that, and then went on to get my PhD at Sam Houston State out in Huntsville, Texas, and so I got this job at East Carolina, ECU, for you North Carolina folks know that, and that's where I was until a few months ago. Still living in Greenville.
I graduated from ECU too, in
I don't
painting.
think I knew that. Okay, no,
Painting and I had a bachelor in painting and a minor in art history. Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
These two co-hosted a show in person for 2 years and didn't even didn't even know
I didn't
that.
know that. I knew she lives close by and about 20
Yeah,
miles from me. I didn't know she went to ECU though.
I sure did. I
Yeah.
sure did.
So, Mark, Crime Chronicles. The one thing that people love that do watch the show is that you go to the actual locations of these events. You
Oh,
see a lot of these crime shows where people talk about crime that aren't reporters. They do it from the comforts of an office or their own home. They're showing clips.
yeah.
But for instance, you did the Heineken kidnapping in Amsterdam. You go to Amsterdam. When you talked about the attempted assassinations on the Pope, you went to Vatican City.
Right.
Cold Blooded, you went to Kansas, right? Cold Blooded was in
Yeah,
Kansas,
in
right?
Cold Blood was in Garden City, Kansas. Yeah.
Yeah, you went to Kansas. JFK, you went to Dallas.
Yep.
Columbine, you went to Columbine.
Mm,
Like
mm,
the, the
mm,
the Florence River Monster, you went to Florence. So, and what people also don't know on the channel is
mhm.
that travel and everything comes out of your own pocket. That's the thing that always gets me looking is like this guy is taking his own money. It's not profit from any other business, and he's flying to these locations and he's talking. I say reporting by accident. He's revisiting these
Passion.
crimes
Mhm.
and talking about these, and it's a lot of great information. And sometimes it's stuff I've never even heard of, or things that I haven't heard of in the particular cases that I know. What drove you to want to do these things, and how much do you enjoy going to these places?
Well, what drove me was you called me up one day and said, "Hey, let's do a podcast called Crime Chronicles with Mark Jones." So,
Well, you were doing
uh,
okay. My bad. Let me back it up. You know, you were doing the show My Perspective
yeah,
Mondays with Lissette, and both of you outgrew the show. And I was like, you both need your own show. I ironically, the show died after you two left. Uh, but we started the rise with Lissette with her. And then since you had the background in criminology and you're a professor and you were traveling, I'm like, why don't we do a crime show? And
yeah.
I
Well,
didn't know
it's
it was going to be as good
remember
as it was.
it's like this. It kind of evolved this way because it did evolve. I didn't really plan this out
Mhm.
the way it may sound. If you remember, you and I and the
Great.
photographer,
Gray and Chris.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a couple of things here in North Carolina, well, filmings, I should say. but on
Mhm.
cases that I think one was in North Carolina, one was somewhere else, and one
One
Alabama.
was, in Pennsylvania, but we used the movie magic where the crime happened in the woods of Pennsylvania,
Yes.
so we shot in the woods of North
Wow.
Carolina. Because who's
Well,
gonna
yeah,
know the
okay, yeah,
difference?
yes and no on that one. You talking about the Judy Smith case? So
Yeah,
the crime actually
Hmm.
happened near Asheville, North Carolina.
okay.
That she disappeared in Pennsylvania,
Gotcha,
which was
gotcha, gotcha.
Wow.
Okay.
Philly. And the other one is the
Hmm.
Scottsboro boys case. What happened in Alabama? We did it here. But anyway, I got
Mhm,
I did some traveling in the course of my work, and in the course of going to conferences, and in the course of just stuff where I would go. And I got to the point. I said, "Look, as long as I'm going there, why not try to do a podcast from there?" And
Mhm.
I always think you can. It doesn't always work this way, but sometimes you get a better appreciation
Uh-huh.
of an event if you actually visit the location. Now, that's not always the case. I mean, for example, say Jack the Ripper. I did one there, and that
That's
happened.
my that's oh Lord. Oh Lord. That's my favorite one.
Yeah,
Jack the
that
Ripper.
yeah, that happened in the east end of London, and the topography and the layout of London has changed a whole lot since the late 19th century, of course.
Wow.
But even so, you get kind of a better feel for what happens sometimes when you go to that location. It's hard to explain it,
Hmm.
but when you see, say, like the gunfight at the OK Corral is the one that's coming up,
Mhm.
Tombstone, Arizona. Now, of course, Tombstone has changed a lot in 140 years, but they've restored it to try to kind of the way it was back then. Now they have running water now, but all that good stuff. But sometimes and I'll say in the case of JFK in Dallas, when you visit Dealey Plaza, you get an appreciation for what happened on that day and try to put yourself there. And so to me, that's just kind of irreplaceable. Uh, I really enjoy that aspect of it. And as I said, sometimes I was going to conferences. I'm trying to off the top of my head. You mentioned Florence, Italy, a while ago, and
mhm,
Amsterdam was happening when I was doing a study abroad program. Same with Jack the Ripper, and I did the Nicolae Ceausescu overthrow from Bucharest, Romania, because I was there for a conference.
mhm.
So sometimes but on other occasions, I told Lessette before he got on, I got myself a present over the summer, and I made some special trips out west just to do some podcast on the Manson murders in Los Angeles,
Wow.
and again the OK Corral coming up in Arizona, as well as some in Idaho and well, what else we have coming up? We had the Harvey Milk assassination that'll be here one day in San Francisco. The
Mm.
Gerald Ford attempt, as you know, happened in Sacramento and San Francisco. So I went to
September
those
22nd. Yep.
locations. It just adds something to it to me with the Gerald Ford assassination attempt in San Francisco, where I could stand across the street. I could stand almost in the steps of the person that took the shot, look across the street, and see how
Wow.
it could have been done. And sometimes it surprises me because I
Mhm.
think we're always this way when it comes to something we see on TV and the movies. We're surprised at how big it seems on TV or in the movies,
Mhm.
but how small it seems when you're actually there.
That's amazing. That's incredible. I'm just thinking about, I'm sorry, but can I go back to Jack the Ripper?
Sure,
No. Yeah.
because
you're the hostess.
because
Go.
did they ever solve that
No,
they never solved it.
no. Well, people come out with a new book every year or so
Yeah.
and claim they've solved it. Um, and if you watch the podcast that I did, I just went with what seems to be the majority opinion as far as
Mhm.
who did it, but it's never been definitively solved. Now, if they had modern technology now, if they had the technology they have now, if they had that back in the 19th century,
Mhm.
it would have been solved through DNA or fingerprints, no question, especially DNA. But that
Oh,
wasn't available then.
Yeah.
So
wow.
the most likely suspect, that caused all sorts of conspiracy theories, most of which are garbage. Like a member of the royal family did it. I mean, that's good internet talk and all that, and people even write books about it. But the most likely suspect was a Polish immigrant named Aaron Kosminski that most likely did that. But
Okay.
again, we're not sure.
This, I just love to watch a crime story and try to figure out who did it. And I figure out I figure out the murder. I said that one did it. My husband said, "Now how you know?" I said, "Nah, nah." That's then again. So a lot of time that's just movie. Just
Well,
the
Well, yeah,
simple stuff.
Lessette
these
has
movie
had
writers and
years and
TV,
years.
yeah,
Lessette has
these
had
screenwriters, they come up with they're you say, well, who did it? Well, it's up to the writer. I mean, because they're going to throw a curveball at you. They're not going to follow like a straight trajectory of logic on these things because they want to keep you guessing to the
You
very
gotta
end.
have the twist. But
Yeah,
Lissette has done years and years of investigative work from watching Murder, She Wrote. I think
For
that's where she
sure.
gets
For
you know,
sure.
my, I'm one of those conspiracy theorists that said Angela Lansbury's character killed all those people because how the hell did everywhere she goes, someone died?
yeah, it
She
was a
was
murder
a
capital of the
serial
world.
killer.
Yeah, most of those were set in this real small, quaint town in
Yeah,
Maine
she was a
that has
serial
like
killer.
has a
That's the
murder
twist.
has a homicide every 10 years, and yet she has one once a week.
Yeah, she's a serial
Sometimes
killer.
they send her on the road so she could
Hmm.
go somewhere else and do it.
Mark, I wanted to ask you something because you talked about being in person and feeling it. One of the things I like when February comes around, you'll always do stories um, involving Black historical crimes. And the first one you did was the Scottsboro Boys. And,
Yeah,
you know,
Hmm.
even though we couldn't go to Alabama and go to the spots, we found in North Carolina this old timey looking
railroad
shop
depot. Yeah,
and there was the new railroad track built, but right across from it was the old railroad tracks, and it had
had
old
that look.
lumber, and it was a good feel. Um, but talk about doing those. Are those difficult for you? And if you could, I'd like you because most of our audience is African American, kind of, and guys go back and watch this episode, kind of give them the layout of what happened with the Scottsboro Boys.
Scottsboro Boys case. Well, first off, is it difficult for me? I give you the blunt answer. Really, no. Honestly,
Mhm.
not just that case, but all the rest of them. I don't know if I've lost my humanity or what, but I've developed sort of a clinical attitude toward this stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, bad stuff happens, and I talk
Yeah.
about it, and maybe that doesn't speak well of me. I don't know. Um, but if it happened to me, yes, of course. But to be honest with you, it doesn't really affect me that much. But what happened in that case was. This is back in the 1930s during the Depression, when a lot of people were out of work and a lot of people, young men especially, lived the life of hobos, riding the rails, things
Hmm.
like that. And in that case, there were 9 young African American men, and they were going from, I think it was from Chattanooga to maybe Memphis, and that route dips down into Alabama, so that's key. And also aboard their same car, there were 2 white women and 2 or 3 white men, I think.
Hmm.
And by the time the train, there was a fight among the men, and 2 or all of the white men, I'm not sure, were thrown off the car. And they got to this town near Scottsboro, Alabama, first somehow. And uh, they substantiated the story that the 2 white women told when they got there. But when the 2 white women got to Scottsboro, I keep saying the race because it is relevant. They claimed they'd been raped by these 9 young men. That was a capital offense back in those days. Now, a person cannot be executed for rape nowadays, but that was a capital offense, and they were given a trial with some semblance of due process, but quickly found guilty and sentenced to death. And then it took on a whole other life. Whether it was the communist organizations or civil rights organizations, which were in their infancy in those days, NAACP had been around for about 20 years or something like that, not even that long. They all got involved, and then it became a cause celebre, not only in the U.S. but around the world, as far as how blacks are treated in the criminal justice system, particularly when it was a sex crime involving a white woman. The sad thing about that case is now, long story short, it's already a long story when somebody says that. Um, this case went through the appeals process for years, and the men were never executed. Most of them were, all of them were eventually released. Although one guy committed a crime while he was locked up. So, well, the sad thing is that this kind of thing happened. I won't say all the time, but I believe that had it not been for 9 men, if it had happened and only involved say 2 or 3 men, they probably would have been executed or given a life sentence, and nobody would have batted an eye. But because there
Wow.
were so many here, it just seemed so egregious that it became kind of a rallying point, both for legal reasons and for non-legal reasons, i.e.,
Yeah.
racial factors.
Yeah.
So it was it's an interesting case, a very sad case in a lot of ways, uh, but it shined a light on the way things were back in the 30s in some justice systems.
This is interesting. I mean, to be able to study, the crime and what may have caused who may have caused the crime, and I just love that. And even preventing the crime is awesome. I mean, but I mean, I just you ever see Scary People? The show Scary People.
No,
You
No,
watch
I
that?
haven't seen that.
I watch documentaries and sport. That's about it.
Document. Oh, let's not talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. Um, so he's gonna smile. Um, but one of the things that I like that you do is you don't go down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories. Like I love that some of the comments always bring up conspiracies. Like you did the Columbine, and someone's like,
Yeah,
"There were
Oh yeah.
15 shooters. The government's
yeah.
not telling you about it," and you just ignore it. You just, oh,
Oh.
I love the answer
Well,
that you always give people that have conspiracy theories. You're like, oh my God, someone needs to look into this. You need to get
oh
this
yeah, that's yeah.
information to the
Yeah,
FBI.
you have fun with it. Yeah, the Columbine ones you're talking about. Some guy wrote in and said, yeah, there were 15 shooters or something like that. I said, Keone, sign this guy up.
Yeah,
I guarantee he'll get an audience.
I
Isn't
always love,
Columbine the one with all the little children with the
High school students.
high
yeah,
school
the high
students?
school
It's the high
students. Some
school students.
some people mix that up because I thought you were going to say the movie theater, but that was Aurora,
Mhm.
Colorado, correct?
Right. Well, also, I think what she's confusing it with is a situation up in, was it Connecticut, Newtown,
Yes,
Connecticut?
Connecticut.
Yeah.
That's the one.
And that would have not, now that one would be a hard one to do. I mean, and it's just, if you really start thinking about it too much, it does get to be too much for you. So you have to have a quasi-detached attitude. That's why I could go and talk about the massacre of these students at Columbine High School and
Mm,
not get,
mhm.
emotionally overwrought with it. Because I remember when that happened very well. Uh,
Right.
it was a seminal event in the lives of people who were, say, early teens at that age.
Mm, mm,
It was
mm.
kind of a watershed moment in a bad way for a lot of kids that age. My son mentioned that to me, by the way. He put it that way.
That's
But
just sad. Mm.
I guess there's nothing funny about this, but I couldn't help but laugh a little bit when Keone mentioned going to Columbine and doing this. Was I went to Columbine, and there's a park that's behind Columbine High School, and Colorado is known for wide open spaces,
Mhm,
something we don't see here in the Southeast very much.
mhm,
So I went to this place where there's a great filming location, and they had established a memorial to the victims of Columbine.
mhm,
And so you go up on at the top of this park, this monument, and you look down over the soccer fields, the football fields, the PE fields where the kids
mhm,
are out there
mhm.
playing. And even though this was in the summer, kids were in school. And so I started taking pictures, and the sound carries so well out there. I could hear these teenage girls saying, "Hey, there's some dude taking pictures up there." So I kind of backed off a little bit,
Yeah.
even though what I was doing was perfectly legal. They have a right to be a little bit suspicious when people start showing up and taking pictures. There was a film crew doing a project while I was there as well. Um, so yeah, it is kind of hard sometimes, but you just it's like people in the medical profession. You don't get overly emotional about stuff like this, and just take see it for what it is.
But of all the ones that you've done so far, it be the children in school that has touched you more than and which crime so far has really just I just can't.
I don't know. I never thought about it in those terms. I guess though, and I don't remember all the ones I've done off the top of my head unless Kimberly starts reminding me. But I think that would be among the worst because there were so many very young, innocent
Mhm.
victims. And say, unlike the Scottsboro Boys case, where at least as bad as that was, nobody was killed, nobody lost their life.
Mhm,
Uh, but the Columbine would be one of the worst, and not only because of the age of the children involved,
mm,
uh, but the fact that there's so many of them and was so just bizarre. I don't know how else to put it, but just beyond bizarre. Nobody has ever really come up with a motive as to why these two boys did this.
mm, mm, mm,
The news media, when that first happened, I mentioned this in the podcast. The news media, like they do, and they're very often wrong, usually wrong, at least initially, starts attributing all these motives. It was attack based on race. It was an attack based on religion. It was attack based on the fact that some of the victims were jocks and these guys were non-jocks. These guys were part of the trench coat mafia, which was not true.
Mm.
These guys were bullied. That was not true. These guys were social outcasts. That was not true. None of the nice, neat little theories about what drove these guys
Mhm.
really fits.
Okay.
And just as the Jack the Ripper case has never been solved, no real motive for
Mm.
Columbine has ever really been discerned, other than
This
the
is
fact these guys had some serious issues.
It's it's kind of crazy because we talked about this before when it
Mhm.
comes to school shootings. Since 1840, we've had school shootings, because everybody thinks it's like a new phenomena, right? Since 1840, we've had
Mm.
school shootings, but what they've been mostly is a person going into a school and shooting two or three people,
Right.
uh, a teacher whose spouse was a teacher that was cheating on their spouse, or like I remember like I read one from like 1859 or something to where a mom came and shot a teacher for spanking her kid the day before. So we've just been walking into school
Mm.
shootings for hundreds of years. It wasn't until I think the first big one
Hmm.
was around, what was it around? It was like 1941 or something like that, where 14 people were killed
Wow.
in a school shooting. So the school shooting thing, if you just did a podcast on, oh, I found it, 1891. It was 1891, that long ago, during a school exhibition and concert at the Parson Hill schoolhouse. An unknown gunman fired a double barrel shotgun into a mixed audience made of black and white students, parents, and teachers. 14 people were wounded, and some seriously. So it's just, if you did a podcast just on school shootings, you could do those episodes for the next 10 years and not
Wow.
Yeah.
have to cover another crime. It's crazy.
Well, mass shootings in general,
Mhm.
because we did one on Columbine. We also did one while I was in Colorado. We did one on the in Aurora that you mentioned a while
Mhm.
ago, the
Yeah.
so-called Batman shootings, which was happening at a
Mm.
midnight debut screening of a Batman film.
Mhm.
Uh, Actually,
Mm.
very few mass shootings that take
Mhm.
place are school shootings. They typically happen in a number of places, in say a shopping center
Right. The
Mhm.
or
math. Yeah.
or a place of employment or just wherever a crowd can be found or at a concert. Um,
Mhm.
but the ones like Keone was mentioning, at least I'm not saying they're not bad, but there's some motive or there's some connection between the shooter and the people and the person who's killed.
Mhm.
What's changed though, Keone, is you're right. I mean that
Mhm.
school shootings are not new, neither are mass shootings. What's changed though is the lethality of the weapons involved. These people
Wow.
back in the 19th century didn't have access to the kind of weaponry that people do nowadays.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Columbine, though, it did. I think it was special though because I believe it was, it really just kind of got the world's attention. And I think because ever since then we have heard people say they're going to do another Columbine. So we don't know if how many of these
Mhm.
school shootings we're talking about would have happened without Columbine, but they have inspired some copycats
Mhm.
that I think like no other school shooting did before.
Yeah.
At one time I used to say, well, if you are a criminal and you can go somewhere and hide. In other words, if you're a criminal and you want to hide what you're doing, are you really saying that I don't know what I'm doing, I can't control it? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I mean,
Huh?
if you, in other words, if you got enough sense to not do it in front of the police, would not you therefore know what you're doing and you can control it?
No, you know what you're doing, but it's an impulse. The thing that I love about being in this age is we're learning about the brain, right?
Okay.
Before we got scientific, it was all the devil made me do it,
Right.
or you're just a bad seed. And we're learning about brain chemistry. It's like someone who steals.
Hmm.
Everyone who steals is not a bad person. There's an
That's right.
impulse in their brain
That's true.
that makes them, people with money shoplift. It's the craziest thing. There
Yeah.
are millionaires who get caught shoplifting. There's an impulse in their brain that tells them they need to steal something. Whether
Well,
that's dopamine,
just
whether it's a high, whether it's all of those things. Some people it's not controllable. Some people have to take medication for certain things.
going back to what you said a while ago about crime being a moral issue,
Mhm.
up until it's hard to put an exact time frame on this, but up until say the late 19th century, and that comes about with the first off with the sort of a rise in uh, more belief in the scientific method and hard
Mhm.
science, both say biology, medically. Up until that time, crime was a moral issue, and people did crimes because they were bad.
Yeah.
But in the late 19th century,
Hmm.
with the emergence of, say, biology and advanced medicine, and also sociology and psychology, now the causes of crime are traceable to those factors, whether it's psychological, a chemical imbalance, brain damage,
Mm.
or sociological factors too. Especially at University of Chicago had the greatest sociology program in the country,
Mm-hmm.
and they started attributing, not blaming, but partially attributing people's crimes to environmental factors, the
Mm.
way they're raised in neighborhoods and things like that. Now, a lot of people think that that means, well, okay, you're saying that you're excusing crime. That's not the case at
No.
all. Excusing something, explaining something is not the same as excusing it or saying the
Right.
person shouldn't suffer the consequences of what they do.
This is good. This is really good. Is it possible that someone is actually born a murderer or a criminal? That actually, because they be in as little kids, they be killing dogs and stuff. Is that possible? I mean,
Some people say it is. It the it, but it tends to people get very nervous when you say that though, because it used to be that school of thought used to be there. Is let's say, and I'm not being cruel when I say this, but let's say a person who's born to a crack addicted mother, they're starting out with a few strikes against them
yeah.
already because of the damage done to their body and their brain while they're in the womb. So, but people get nervous about that because for one thing, we say, okay, you're labeling a person from birth and saying, okay, you're going to be a criminal, so just forget it. Um, and also, like back in the say the
Mhm.
20s and 30s, that was sort of the basis for like the sterilization movement and
That's true.
sterilizing people who were say mental defectives, people like that, because
Mhm.
we're afraid they're going to turn out to be criminals. So yeah, I mean there are such things as biological links to crime,
Mhm.
but we all get very nervous talking about that because we don't want to label somebody a criminal unfairly.
Right. Also, it's a very fine line where you turn. We've seen things to where a person is born with a very physically abusive father. One of two things happen: that child becomes an abuser, or that child has a profound respect for
Just the
women,
opposite.
and
Yeah.
you never know where that
Right.
thread's going to go, and that one little change in temperament or that one little event. Because I remember when I was a kid, I used to pull wings off flies and step on lizards and do all those weird things, but I didn't grow up a mass murderer or a serial killer. um, but who knows? Something could have happened back then that triggered me to go the opposite way. So it's a thing that you continually learn. You don't want to get in the labels. That's why I was glad we got away from the devil made me do it kind of
Yeah.
atmosphere. Everybody who does something is just inherently evil. You got to figure out why things are happening so you can.
If you look at the
Yeah.
people that I profiled on my show,
Hmm.
uh, now again, we don't know who did Jack the Ripper, but
Yeah.
with some of them, again, the Columbine killers, there was
Yeah.
nothing in their biology, nothing in their background, nothing in
Mhm.
the way they were raised that would presage them doing a crime like this. They came from decent families, intact families, upper middle class families.
Hmm.
So what sends people over the edge sometimes? Who knows? Now, in the case of say Lee Harvey Oswald, who shot President Kennedy,
Mhm.
there were some. If you look at his background, there are some things that would say, okay, yeah, this does add up. Um, but in in the case of one of the cases I did was from the University of Chicago on the University of Chicago campus. It was the Leopold and Loeb case from the 1920s. These are two very wealthy, literally geniuses. And nowadays we say, oh, a coach who wins a football game is a genius. No, these guys literally were geniuses, had IQs that couldn't even be measured on the IQ scale, and decided to go out and kill this teenage boy just to see if they could get away with it.
Mm.
And it was called the thrill kill case of Leopold and Loeb in the 1920s. Involved Clarence Darrow, people like defending him.
Mhm.
And they never really could explain why they did what they did, and
That's
there's no
interesting.
reason they should have.
This is, I mean, you know, let me ask you this. Do you remember when the sniper was on a towel and he shot a lot of, was it students at a college?
University of Texas.
That
Yeah,
was a movie. It was called Do the Right Thing.
yeah.
Okay, well, now I remember. Okay, I remember. Now, if the back in the 1966,
Mhm.
the University of Texas in Austin. Uh, there's forget the guy's name off the top of my head, but he climbed the tower on the campus of the University of Texas and shot. I want to do that one. Charles Whitman, that was the guy that did it. Charles Whitman,
Mhm.
Marine veteran, uh, who attended ECU, by the way, at one point. But we don't really know exactly what drove him there. There may have been some brain
Mhm.
damage in that guy's case that was detected after he died, but we don't really know. Um, but there again, that the guy didn't have an ideal childhood growing up, but it wasn't the worst either. What sent that guy over the edge? Who knows?
That's amazing. So therefore we need some type of preventative. We need to prevent to be able to prevent crime. You
But how do
know.
you prevent it though?
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
how do you? I mean, you can prevent some types of crime,
Mhm.
and there's all sorts of debate about what works and what doesn't, such as increased police presence will prevent some types of crimes in some locations, but for the really bad kind of crimes and for sex crimes that occur inside people's homes, where the victim is known to the family.
Mhm.
What does the government do to prevent that? And
Mhm.
I again, there's always some thing that can be done to prevent someone from doing it, but um, this is not something that would get me elected. But if I were to run for office and people were to say, "Well, how are you going to stop crime?" I would say, "I have no idea. All we all we can do is kind of the best we can, and that
Because you
is
think about some things like people say, "Well, increase the penalties for crime." Well, that's number one. That's not going to stop it because that's not fixing the
usually
root
not."
issue, and you're also going to get that problem of innocent people getting locked up for longer, which we keep seeing every year. A bunch of people getting exonerated and found innocent. And the thing also is one of the root, like Mark said, it depends on what crimes you're talking about, whether
Yeah,
it's white collar crimes, whether it's violent
Mhm.
crimes, whether it's drug crimes, because some of the crimes that we're talking about, let's say in areas that were deemed unfixable. I'm from Miami, I'm from Google's. That was a drug infested, crime ridden area when I was growing up. But it's amazing what happens when you pump resources into a community instead of cutting it off from resources. That place looks nothing like what it did. And it wasn't even gentrification. It was
right.
just putting the right resources because desperate people do desperate things. I'll give you an example. The Great Depression. If you look at the crime rate in America
Mhm.
between blacks and whites in the Great Depression, crime like quadrupled with white Americans because what happened? Banks collapsed. Where were black people not allowed to put their money before the Great Depression? In banks. So guess who had money when the Great Depression went around? So a lot of the businesses you see today, Cadillac survived during the Great Depression because of blacks. There were a lot of things that we were doing with money, and people who had their money in banks. If you look at the criminals that started robbing trains and robbing banks and robbing different places, that all exploded during the Great Depression. So root causes can
Yeah.
solve a lot of
It's
crimes
difficult
like
though
that.
because like you make a good point about. I mean, of course, you know Miami better than I do.
Yeah.
I've been to Miami Beach quite a bit, and I remember riding around Miami Beach once with an Uber driver, and he said, "Look, where we are right now, what we're doing right now, you could not have done this back in the 1980s."
Oh,
Uh,
no.
but
There
so
were
for
places
every
I couldn't even go into. Yeah.
Yeah, but for every success story like that,
Mhm.
which we don't hear about, there are failures where you over and
Yeah.
over and over again you invest and so forth, do everything possible, and still it doesn't work. So it's one thing that I think one challenge that any federal politician would have when asking about what to do about crime is the fact that crime is a localized problem. Now, there are
Yeah.
certain things that are nationwide in scope, but the problems and the solutions that one might see in a place like Miami would be much different than, say, Kinston, North Carolina, where Lessette lives, or
Yeah.
Greenville, where I live. So
Mhm.
what works in one place, or what might be the solution in one place, might not be the same as somewhere else. And it's so localized. I'll give you an example that some years ago, I didn't do this, my department did this. They were commissioned by a study by the city of Greenville to identify people's greatest fears about crimes in their neighborhoods and their districts. And people laughed at them. My department chair said that in one particular district, the greatest threat that people saw was uh, playground safety. I didn't even know what that meant.
Wow.
Okay, until a week later, the headline on the front page of the paper was a shooting at a playground. So gangs and wannabe gang members were taking over playgrounds and not making it safe for little children and their families. So, I mean, that was a problem there, but it might not be the problem somewhere else. And
That's
so the solution would not be the same.
what's
There's
interesting to
also,
me.
oh, my bad. Go ahead, let's say,
I'm sorry.
because I wanted to capitalize on what he was saying. Well,
Go ahead.
there's also a difference, and this could be a whole nother show. You also have what's called fakingly throwing the resources and be involved. Hey, look, you're doing something over here, but you're doing something underhandedly over there. I remember one of the things the good thing about the FBI is they will chronicleize the things that they do good and the things that do bad. So this information is readily available. But you're looking at projects to where they brought free medical care into cities in South California, into urban areas. But what they were also doing with this free healthcare was pumping people full of a bunch of stuff to see what would happen.
Hmm.
you know.
Well, see, again, you make a good point, though.
Yeah.
You say, throw resources at something, but it's a
Mhm.
matter of how they use, are they used appropriately?
Right. Yeah.
And again, and again, this is the kind of thing a politician can't afford to say. You can't
Right.
say, well, we tried, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Uh, you just can't do that. You can't admit failure.
Mm,
So it'll always be a problem.
mhm,
The only thing you can do is try to contain it and control it as best you can.
mhm.
And the ways to go about that can be debated ad nauseum. And you can get very well-meaning people in the same room and have very strong disagreements
Yeah.
about what would work. For
Especially when the
instance,
people are supposed to be helping are also the ones committing crimes. I mean, look
well,
at every day where yeah.
for example, does rehabilitation work? Very, very broad question. And some people said,
Mhm.
no, you can't rehabilitate or change anybody. Does that mean you give up? No, it
No.
should not.
Right.
But on the other hand, I am reminded of what a conservative criminologist said once, that he said the ruins of the therapeutic state are all around us. A lot of times we do our worst damage when we're trying to help people. Uh, so that's control is control.
Mhm.
So it's a much more complicated problem than any politician is able to admit.
You
Just throw
know,
up your hand. Maybe I've studied it too long, and I'm just more confused than I should be.
I was just thinking about, I know we say we try to help the criminal, but why don't the criminal help himself? You know what? I was thinking about this might be kind of silly, but I was thinking about the werewolf. Okay, now because
Oh
don't
dear
even look
God.
at me like that. The werewolf, he knows that when the full moon comes out, he's going to go off on some people, but
So we got a good podcast
responsible.
idea coming up. Let's key in on this, Keone. Okay, here we go.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
a responsible werewolf would tell someone to lock me up when it's the full moon and make sure that I don't get out. Lock me up. That's a responsible werewolf. But a werewolf don't give a flap. He'll just say, "I'm just going to tear the place open, go up and kill everybody I see." So I'm just saying. Not only can we what?
Try to keep a straight face here. All right.
I mean, not only can we help them, but they can help themselves if they really don't want to do what they're doing. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
a cure for lycanthropy should be on the agenda. That's werewolfism. Um,
I miss, you know what? Okay, you guys are making me miss the banter uh between you two. Mark, something I have to ask you, because of course it's the elephant in the room always. You ignore the comments on this. I love making fun of these people. So
I don't listen. I don't listen to internet trolls, quite
because of
frankly.
course we're gonna clip this part. the motivation behind the outfit. Sometimes you wear a trench coat, vest, especially when it's cold. Sometimes I know, like this outfit saved you, the variant of that outfit when you did the Michael Jordan, James Jordan one, because it was like 900 degrees in Lumberton,
Wow.
so
Oh
you were
God,
happy
it
to
was
do
hot.
it.
Yeah,
Um, I always say
I
this.
was glistening from the heat. God, yeah.
Yeah. I always say this. I wish I could be that confident when I'm 60 plus years old.
Hey,
What's your motivation? Or I don't know if that's the proper way to ask the question. How did you decide that you wanted to where's that? Because of course you're conscious of you're doing a crime show, or I don't know, or maybe you're not, or people are gonna look at me and go, "What the heck
I like
is
the hat.
happening on this screen?"
Do what feels good. I don't know. I just if you do what feels good, what pleases you. If people like it,
Mhm.
fine. If people like it, great. If not, well, so be it. I don't.
Well, so be it. I like that answer.
That's my attitude toward life anyway. Again,
Well, I'm
I'm
just asking
emotional.
for the fans because I can't answer that question. So, because some people say, "Why does he love those shirts?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not him. Maybe that's just the style. So I just wanted you to talk about that. Maybe I didn't know if you had a specific
Well,
reason for that.
it's
Does
like
those
Dr.
type of
Seuss
designs
said,
that you like?
if you're why try to fit in when you're born to stand out?
Ooh, I like.
I like that.
Why? Wait. Say that one more time.
Dr. Seuss, why try to fit in when you were born to stand out?
Hmm.
Hey, that's
Okay.
cool.
I don't have my reading glasses on, so I can't read what's on the screen. I see the
Yeah.
name Clarence Corning. I know that one. I know Clarence is
Yeah.
always around me.
I
You know.
always say this. Hey, it gets people. Hey, at least they're watching. So you watched enough to talk about it. I like
Well,
it.
I put it this way: if somebody takes the time to watch
Mhm.
and either criticize what I say or anything else, the laugh's on you. I've just deprived you of 30 minutes of your life you'll never get back.
That is so
So,
true.
I've lived in your head for this amount of time. So cool.
Well, thanks, Jennifer and Clarence, up there for your comments. Those Clarence says those with less commit more crimes. Seems to commit more crimes. Interesting.
Well, it
Like I
again,
said,
it's the
he needs to read up on Bernie Madoff though,
yeah.
because
That's what I was about to say. Again, it depends on what type.
he,
It
he is
every
right. I mean, but
yeah, but every sect of society decides what crimes they're referring to, right? Because
yeah.
we know there's some people with a lot of money that have committed way more crimes than someone who's dirt poor.
But
Uh,
he is correct though. That
yeah,
you if you go to in any courtroom in any given day or any week, whatever,
Mhm.
we hear about the exceptional cases, the Bernie Madoffs or the violent cases, but
mhm.
day in day out, what Clarence says has a lot of merit to it because
Yeah,
you don't
no,
see many rich people in Greenville. We call it DCO one. That's traffic court, misdemeanor
uh-huh.
court, and that's where most
Yeah,
crimes are. And there are
yeah,
not many rich people in there. He is correct.
right. But what I was referring to is, Lissette's in court because she, went to the Dollar Tree and shoplifted some toothpaste.
Who
But
told you
Mark's
that?
in court because he stole the pension. But Mark's in court because he stole the pension of 50 employees.
Oh
I
no.
look at those
I
crimes.
thought you were going to say because he was peeking in the windows, and I'm about to say I, I stopped doing that
Oh.
a few years ago.
I was
Oh.
trying to find the clip, but I couldn't find it between you two, which was the funniest interaction I ever saw between you two is
Oh, you got to
when
find it.
look, I was trying to find it so much, and I couldn't find it. Is when Lessette said, "What was the sequel to the Ten Commandments?" And you just had that smile on your face, and you're like, "Lessette, there was no sequel to the Ten Commandments," and you're
But there
like,
really is. There really is. There's a sequel.
and you were like, "What did he do? Bring down more tablets?" It's just like, no,
Well, there's a movie. Mel Brooks did a movie some years back. Uh, I forget the name of it. Mel Brooks does spoof stuff
uh,
where Moses comes down from holding three tablets,
Uh-huh.
and he says, "Behold, Israel, you're 15." One of them drops and breaks
Oh.
10 commandments. So maybe there was. We just don't know about them. I don't know.
Right. So he
my
broke
favorite
it.
part was when I turned to her and I say, "Do you mean the movie with Russell Crowe?" And she goes, "Yes." I said, "That was Moses." Uh,
Woo! So I see Ken Stevenson said, I'm addicted to crime stories. Where you been? My
Well,
glasses.
tune in. The We have a bunch of them in the hoffer, because like I said, I told Lessette before we came on, Keone, before you came on,
Mhm.
last week before was my birthday week. So my birthday present was a trip to New York. And while I was there, we did some filming for two upcoming episodes, one on Bernie Madoff. That's why I have Bernie Madoff on the brain. And the other one, we went to the steakhouse where John Gotti had Paul Castellano killed, the head of the Gambino crime family back in the 1980s.
Okay.
Um, and so Idaho, the assassination of the former governor, the Washington State case, which is a recent one, which is very tough, where the guy killed a student at Washington State. So um, all over the country, uh, Puerto Rico, even, yeah, Miami Beach, Florida.
I just love it the way you travel and you get right into the scene of it. I mean, you're not just telling a story. I just love
Well, talking about Keone's old stomping grounds, I think he's from Miami, not Miami Beach, I believe. But we did one from there. That was the assassination of Gianni Versace. Remember that,
that.
Keone?
Yeah.
And we
Mhm.
did, and talk about an appreciation for being there, as I was able to go and stand at the spot where his killer stood before walking across the street and shooting the guy on the steps of his own house.
Oh wow.
His
Yeah.
mansion is still there, and it's a tourist attraction now. It's a hotel and a lunch spot, but it just gives you a better appreciation of it. Maybe it's a morbid appreciation, I don't know, but to think in that case that they hunted this guy for over a week and couldn't find him, and he was hiding in plain sight. He wasn't trying to hide. He was. They looked all over the place, and he was about a mile away from where he did the crime. He found an abandoned boathouse and just crashed there. But he would still go out and shop and go to restaurants and go to bars, but yet it couldn't be found. So
This this is good.
weirdness.
I think it's great that now they got so many they have people have been accused of certain crimes, and now with all the technology that they have, they can go back and say, "Nah, they didn't do that." I just like that. Is there one particular case that maybe have that stands out to you that someone was accused of it, but you know,
I don't know. My algorithms were going in my head as you were saying, because I knew you were going to ask that. I don't recall if I have done any. Well, I think the Scottsboro Boys case may have been one of those. Because it's very, very unlikely that all nine of these guys did this. Now, maybe
right?
something happened in that railroad car. We don't really know. But because of although even technology for those days cast some doubts on what happened. But what happened there is that the message had to be sent from the people in Alabama, and this is the same in other states too, that a black man could not even think about getting away with a crime like this. So you had to make an example of them, whether they actually did it or not. So more than likely, you had at least some innocent suspects in that crime that were ultimately kind of exonerated. It gets complicated more than that, but I'm trying to remember a case though that I've covered where the person clearly did not do it. Was I just can't think of one off the top of my
What
head.
about Emmett Till? Have you covered Emmett Till?
No, I'm not. I'm familiar with that case, but I've not covered it. No.
Yeah, because I think they said the lady that was said she was raped. She changed her mind. She said she
Well,
wasn't.
no. In that case, it was. I forget exactly what the allegation was. The allegation was something like this, though, that he either I think it was at a store. This kid
Mhm.
was, I think, lived in Chicago and came south to visit some relatives,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
he either whistled at or pinched or groped or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't think that there's really consensus on that. A white young
Mhm.
adult woman in a store or something like that. And he was killed for that. Now, beyond that, it's really all I can tell you. It's
Okay.
one of
Which
those.
I had to check out. You guys were just talking about Emmett Till
Yeah,
Yes.
or a similar case.
Yes.
it
Emmett
was,
Till.
it was, but again, I'm a little fuzzy on the
Oh yeah,
details.
it's that's that the Emmett Till thing's been updated so much since then. We found out that none of this stuff happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like everything
yeah,
that
I
was
don't know.
said,
I'm not really qualified
it was
to.
one of those deathbed confessions where
Hmm.
um everything ended up being a total lie.
Wow.
But I am
Well,
downloading something before we get off because I found I found the clip. So you guys keep talking because I'm downloading and I'm going to put it
Okay.
on here.
Well, one problem is that, and this happens on both sides of the political aisle, both the liberals and conservatives, they get hold of a narrative and run with it. And very often the truth about what really happened in a case like that, the Scottsboro boys, any number of cases
Mhm.
can get lost in all the political noise that people make trying to promote their particular agenda, be it
Yeah.
right wing, left wing, whatever. And I try to be non ideological about these things. So
I know Clarence says that you know that he says, Mark, your show is great. So he loves your show, my husband.
thank you.
So that's wonderful. I was just thinking to myself, um, you know, I just love to talk about, criminology and stuff. And, I
I
love
thought you
to,
were going to say you love crime again.
I know,
I wanted to
they've been
clip you saying
arrested
that.
me. Get your hands
Um,
off of me. Get your hands off of me.
Well, the thing is, though, is that I report because these are the crime and the same stuff you see on TV. I look at the crimes that gather attention, whether it's
mhm,
a political assassination or something that, for whatever reason, is famous. Gunfight at the OK Corral, the kidnapping of Freddie Heineken, things like that. But the
Yeah.
vast, vast, vast majority of crimes occur are much lower level. And so the people that work in the criminal justice system, and the viral videos have helped us identify with this now. The shoplifters, the drunks, people with drug problems, mental problems. That's the bulk of criminal justice work, and the people that deal with that day in day out are the ones who. It's easy to see how one can get burnt out in professions like that because it can really wear on you.
I mean, have you ever uh, went to an active crime scene and seen all the blood and stuff? Have you?
No, no, not me. When I in my days in probation and prison work,
Mhm.
I typically dealt with things long after the fact. So I didn't have that connection, and so I didn't see the dead bodies and the blood and things like that.
Oh,
Uh, and so I think that I would think it's very hard to hold on to your humanity and not go nuts in jobs like that.
I know.
We got Moses going now.
You got it going on, Keone.
I think I can hear something. I don't know if our audience can.
I don't. Are you? You got it on, Keone?
I sure do.
Yeah,
I sure do. I love it. Hold
I don't know
on.
if I
Here
remember
we
this.
go. From the old days of my perspective. Here we go.
To do it not only with sequels but with remakes. They take good movies and try to remake them or make sequels of them instead of taking bad movies and trying to improve them.
They did the Moses. I mean, now the first Moses they did with Charleston Heston. I mean, they didn't have all that fancy special effect, but the man, I mean, whoever did those special effects, they were awesome. And then they did the
Look at Mark.
Moses,
He's bubbling a little
the
bit.
Ten
my
Commandments,
Here we
the
go.
first Ten Commandments, Moses and type, because
What was the sequel to the Ten Commandments?
but they redid it again. They
No, they
redid
didn't.
it.
No, my friend, there was no sequel to the Ten Commandments.
They made a new version of it with all the nice special effects and all that stuff, and it could not measure up
Wait,
to
wait,
that
wait, wait.
Was that
Are
on
you talking
TV or
about the
something?
movie? Wait, are you talking about the movie with Russell Crowe?
That's still his art.
I know. First of all, Samantha, hush. You're messing up the setup.
It was the funny part of watching Mark put that finger over his lip because he was just waiting for his moment to dive in there and go, "What the hell are you talking
Well, that's like if I'm in front of a class and a student brings up an interesting point, and I use interesting very loosely, and so what are we going to do here?
You should have saw the delightful smile on my face when she said the first 10 commandments. And I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be gold right here."
But I think though, I think her defense, there was a sequel to the movie. If that's what she means.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. There was. They
What was
I
were.
it?
didn't see that one.
I still
I've seen
haven't
the.
found it.
My point with there was why do they take great movies and try to remake them or do sequels to them?
Yeah, you
Right.
know.
Take a
Well,
bad movie and improve it.
I think I what you just said, I'm always in agreement with because sometimes even some of the good ones, like I thought I wasn't gonna like the Judge Dredd remake, but it was great. Total Recall remake was terrible. I know sometimes like people will lazily say they're running out of ideas. It's not always that. Sometimes they're trying to bring a younger audience to that
Yeah.
movie. And what I do like though is when they remake a movie, it forces people who never watched the original to go back and watch it. Because there's so many people that you'll mention a movie and they're like, "What? I've never heard of that
Well,
before."
sometimes it does work, though. I think, I mean,
Mhm,
for the example that comes to my mind is if when they redid War of the Worlds,
mhm.
the 1950s version versus the one with Tom Cruise, I thought was very, very well done. But I think more often than not, they fail when they try to reinvent a classic like that.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
always.
It is. I'm gonna see. Let's hold on. Let me look it up before we get out of here. Let's see. Sequel to.
Oh,
I have not. I've been looking for that forever. I put it in and Google. Geez, Google's yelling at me. It's in. Why is it in all caps? There is no single sequel to the Ten Commandments.
you know how they do that. That sorry when they did. Well,
But
excuse
the
me, y'all.
biblical story continues in the books and books and ebooks. But in terms of films and movie, there has been no sequel to the Ten Commandments.
I mean, you know
Only
how
Lessette has the only copy.
they did the other version of it where it looked like the cherry was all in the water and stuff like that. But
Are you talking about
they couldn't
Chariots
top
of
the first
Fire? Are you
I think
okay?
about Ben
Again,
Hur.
you're talking about Ben Hur.
one. No.
I think she's taking all biblical movies, Mark, and she's just putting them all in the same
Well,
universe.
Charlton Heston, the good thing about Charlton Heston was, before he died, obviously, but he did Budweiser commercials. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
He was the voice of Budweiser. But
Wow.
it wasn't just the voice. It didn't say this is Charlton Heston for Budweiser. It was just the voice. So subconsciously, you're hearing the voice of Moses telling you to drink Budweiser.
Moses.
Oh, that means we need
So
to do
Moses.
it.
it's probably
Okay,
out there.
awesome.
Like
Well,
Gene
Mark,
Hackman in Fly United or Fly, whatever it was.
well, Mark, everybody, you can go to watch Crime Chronicles on Crime Chronicles with Mark Jones YouTube channel. You
Yes.
can also see old episodes on Keone Productions, but his new episodes will always air on the Crime Chronicles YouTube show. And then a couple weeks later, they air on mine. Don't be lazy. Go watch it when they come out on Crime Chronicles. We want to help his channel, support his channel.
Yes,
When
sir.
when are we airing the gunfight at the OK Corral? Is that the
What day?
26th?
The 20? Is it the 26th or the 22nd?
That's the day it happened. That's why I'm asking.
The 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah, then that's when it's going to be.
Okay.
It's already up on your channel and
Just the
ready to
thumbnail.
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you.
That'll be a good one. I think people who aren't familiar with that event, or people who think they're familiar with that event, they'll learn quite a bit from that, and they'll get to see. I think if I may say so, the backdrop is very good, and we even include a little bit of the reenactment that they do there daily.
Mhm.
So that I enjoy doing that. It was very hot, but I enjoy doing it though.
That was hot, huh?
Yeah,
Hey, Mark, this has been good. Just to see you again and to chat with you again,
same.
you and Keone. Y'all are a lot of fun, but also you've written books as well. So please check out. Tell us the name of some of the books you've written real
Wait,
quick.
hold on. Before you say the book, Mark needs to be investigated because Mark wrote a book on presidential assassinations, and I think what
Uh-oh.
was it, Mark? The day before or the week it was supposed to come out, someone shot at the president.
Oh
Yeah,
I was
no.
like, I was like, Mark's doing this publicity tour.
yeah, yeah. That came out a couple of days after the attempt on former President Trump in
Oh
Pennsylvania.
wow.
But
Yeah.
if you saw the sales in that book, that would dispel any conspiracy.
What?
Yeah, I really need to get with your publicist and who does your PR because that was great marketing.
For
No,
sure. For sure.
He's like, no, don't have
no,
anybody knocking
didn't
on my
work.
door.
The most recent one is uh, a book of, I forget how many, but about 40 or so famous criminal justice individuals, people that made the criminal justice system from all ends, from either law enforcement, courts, or prisons, the people that kind of
Mhm.
made the system in effect what it is, both good and bad. And the one I'm working on now is a book on famous crimes in U.S. history. from the Salem witch trials. We did a podcast on that, by the
Wow,
way,
the
called the
witch
Salem
trial.
witch trials from
Mhm.
Massachusetts, which was great, up until Bernie Madoff, which is the most recent one. And the one the chapter I'm working on right now is Blackbeard. So
Okay.
I think I'm going to maybe, in addition to writing this chapter, maybe go do some stuff on Blackbeard for a podcast one day, but we'll see.
I forgot to mention during the show, one of the things I liked is when you're covering things, whether it's, racial crimes, violent crimes, match. Some people will get mad in the comments, not understanding that you're never agreeing with certain things, but you'll tell us what that person
Mm-hmm.
was thinking or their motivation sometimes or the reason. Even if the reason is a lie, you'll
Mm-hmm.
say,
Yeah.
this is what they thought they
This
were
is what
doing,
I thought.
even though it was a detriment to everybody else.
Yeah.
And someone will go, well, how can you justify that? And it's like, he's not justifying. He's saying this was
Well,
what this person was doing.
look, I mean, so
You
people
know,
out there, and look at it, watch and enjoy, watch and learn. Don't get your sphincter muscle all tight when you hear something that you don't like. I mean, you don't go to
no,
the movie, you don't go to the theater and you don't like the movie, I hope.
ignore
Uh,
Mark fans out there. Get your sphincter tight. That's called
Mhm.
engagement on YouTube, and we love it. So ignore the crudgety old man talking about don't get your sphincter tight. Get it really tight. Okay.
I just like saying that.
All right. Well, Lissette, you got to take us out because we can't end your, high morally Christian show on sphincter tightness. So you go ahead and take us out, please.
Mark, we thank you for coming to Rise with Lissette Live. Let me shake it. Thank you for coming to Rise with Lissette, and
Thanks for inviting me.
you are welcome. Everybody that tuned in, we really appreciate it, and it's going to see the replay.
And
Thanks a lot.
check out the new sunroom.
Oh, I love it. I love
Yeah.
the sun. I love the sun. I really do. So this is great. Mark, congratulations on your new channel and your show, Crime Chronicles. Please go by and pay a visit to watch his show, all right? And thank you, Keone, and thank all the protection team. And just know we want you to have a great day and stay away from crime, but not his show, all right? Anyway, it's a long story. Have a great day. Peace out.